This is actually my stepmom and her best friend's story. I have my own, but I'm so hesitant to drag some of them up. I'm hoping telling someone else's will open me up to it a little more. My stepmom didn't like us much, but she told my sister, 3 years older, and I, this experience growing up, to scare us out of being stupid. It was my family's stranger danger story. My stepmom, we're going to call her Macy, grew up as a kid of a privileged teen in the 70s, and her mom had moved their family over here to the States from England when she was about 9. She went to a pretty nice high school in a really nice town. There, she made friends with a girl, Lily, who didn't exactly run with Macy's type of crowd. Popular, stereotypical, etc. They really hit it off, and Lily would take Macy out to do her type of stuff. Hiking, fishing, sailing. There's even a hilarious set of pictures of them camping. My stepmom has raccoon eyes and looks like she hates everything. Anyways, because of Lily's influence, the two of them would do stuff like that a good amount. One Sunday, they decided to go hike in some hills about an hour away. Macy put on what I'm sure were her extremely expensive hiking shoes, and the two of them drove off to the hiking trails. Lily parked in this big clearing with makeshift parking spots. You know, like a piece of wood marking the head of a space. But there were no other cars there. This was only important in hindsight. They started hiking up the hill, off the path, because Lily fancied herself as something of a badass. The hike was nothing extraordinary. If you ask my stepmom, she would just lament for 15 minutes how sticky and buggy it was. Anyways, they reached the top of the hill, and my stepmom was done. The polished, pampered side of her was coming out, and she groaned until Lily begrudgingly said okay. They would rest, and then walk down again, slower. They had been heading down the hill for maybe 10 minutes when Macy started bitching again. Lily conceded to walk down the side of the road instead of the rough hiking trail. So there they are, probably looking like a couple of tools, geared up for hiking and walking down a crappy road. And after not even 5 minutes, a truck pulled up next to them. It was red and rusty and just generally looked like a clunker. The guy driving rolled down the window, and the girls looked in through the passenger side window. He had a big beard, a baseball cap pulled down, and long, brown hair. He greeted them and even smiled through his beard, asking if they needed a ride. Macy described him as charming and even cute. Lily still says the moment he greeted them, her hackles went up. Despite her better judgment, my stepmom convinced her to get in the truck. It must only be a 10-minute drive down to the car, tops. The two girls opened the passenger's door to this rusty old thing, and the guy directed them behind the seat to get into the back. They settled in, and the truck started rumbling forwards. Lily always says that was the point. It hit her. What a mistake they had just made. The back seat was clean enough, but there was a rope on the floor behind the driver's seat, and 4 boxes of saran wrap, half hanging out from under the passenger seat. It seemed creepy and weird, but Lily didn't want to freak out my stepmom, so she just kept her mouth shut. After 10 minutes, the woods didn't look any clearer, and they hadn't seen another car the whole time. Lily asked how long he thought it would be. He said he was taking a different route down the hill and had to stop somewhere to get something first. That was it. The girls were 16/17, and Lily didn't want to press the issue. She was scared. She can remember his hair because she was sitting behind him. He looked like a woodsy guy, but his hair was super tangled and dirty. She noticed crusted mud on his collar and tried to find something identifiable about him, but just got scared the more she picked up on the little details. He was youngish, strong-looking, and had a foot on both of them, so they didn't ask any more questions, and he didn't offer any information, and they drove on. Several minutes after that, they reached a tiny shack, log cabin-looking place. Right there, in a clearing of trees, there was an old stump where someone had been chopping wood, and a huge axe was stuck into the log. Lily was definitely on red alert now. The guy turned off the truck and slipped out of it, saying,
"I'll be right back. Don't get out."
and he disappeared into the house. Lily tried to talk to my stepmom about how she was incredibly uncomfortable, but she mostly just dismissed it. Lily started begging, increasingly freaked out, and finally put her foot down, demanding Macy exited the truck with her. So they got out and walked around the front of the vehicle. The house was about 50 yards in front of them. Why this guy would have left 2 young girls in the truck alone while going into the house is beyond me. And they wandered around, looking at it hesitantly. If this guy really was decent and just trying to give them a ride, it would be super rude to just run off, right? My stepmom had this strict upbringing when it came to manners and a public persona, and she saw it as an issue of that nature. So she actually started to head back to the truck, opening the front door to climb in behind the driver's seat. Lily was pissed off and followed her to yell some more. On the driver's side floor, half hidden under the seat, there was a big hatchet. It had dried red and brown stains, covering the blade and stuck to the floor under it. Lily understandably lost her shit, and seeing it, my stepmom started getting hysterical. They decided that leaving was by far their best option at this point, and just booked it off the side of the property into the trees. They bumbled around in the trees for a little while, until Lily was fairly confident that they were on their way back down the hill. My stepmom cried all the way down. Lily felt bad about it, but was also completely freaked out that he would hear it, and kept trying to calm her down. When they finally got back down to the bottom and saw the old wooden fence that surrounded the original parking area, they were relieved. But as they got closer, they saw it. The truck. It was parked on the other side of the gravelly makeshift lot, just sitting there, facing the other way, innocently. They couldn't see if anyone was in it, and of course, Macy wanted to run for the car, but Lily was super hesitant. She managed to calm my stepmom down, saying she wanted to wait before running out into the open to see what was out there. Remember, this is the 70s, no cell phones. There was no ranger station or anyone around. The parking lot was big and empty and open, and who knows what would have happened if they decided to stroll across it. Thankfully, Lily convinced my mom to chill, and the two of them hunkered down against a big tree, hidden by bushes and other trees, and waited it out for what seemed to be a couple of hours, when dark started to fall. All the animals started coming out and making noises, and my stepmom, predictably, started getting antsy about this and bothering Lily, who was tired and moments away from giving in. She was just planning their dash to the car when they heard a clunk across the twilight-lit lot. They watched as one of the back doors of their car swung open, and the bearded guy slid his way out of the back seat. He got out, shut the door, looked around at the surrounding woods for several moments, and then walked back to his truck. The truck lumbered past their car and out of sight. Several minutes after watching him drive away, they sprinted to their car as fast as they could, jumped in, and peeled out before they had even shut the doors. If this guy is still alive, he's really old, but still, let's not meet. So, about 9 years ago, my boyfriend, now husband, 44 male, and I, 40 female, were driving across country from California to Florida. My husband had an enormous Roddy named Kuma. It means bear in Japanese, and it fit. He was 110 pounds. I had only just met Kuma maybe 2 days prior, since my husband and I were in a long-distance relationship at the time. So we, Kuma and I, didn't know each other well yet, but he was a great boy and talked a lot. We called them Umble Grumbles. We stopped at a gas station so that we could get out, stretch, and use the restrooms. He got Kuma on his leash and said he'd take him for a walk. I offered to do it instead, since I didn't need to use the restroom urgently. Now, I'm not a small girl. I'm 5'10", but I am petite, as my husband calls me, maybe 125 pounds. My husband is almost 6'5", and built like a Viking, So a dog Kuma's size wouldn't affect him one way or another if he tried to bolt, chasing a squirrel or something. I, on the other hand, will admit I was nervous once he handed me the leash to hold him, because if he decided to try anything, I wasn't big or strong enough to stop him. My husband noticed my nervousness. He just smiled and said, "Don't worry, he's well trained. He won't take off, and he won't let anything happen to you." It's important to note that Kuma had no formal protection training. He just loved whatever his dad did and knew he was supposed to protect and keep it safe when Dad wasn't there to do it himself. Once he was sure I was comfortable, my husband headed inside, leaving Kuma and I near the far right side of the gas station, with a little dirt path near a wooded area. It was very dark, and there was little light being shed so far from the building, but it was a busy little station, and I could see people, so I didn't feel isolated or anything. So I start to walk slowly, allowing Kuma to take in his surroundings, when I hear a noise coming from behind me. I turn, startled, to see a man walking. He notices me and slows his gait, looks around, back at me, and then smiles eerily. Uh-oh. He changes direction suddenly, heading directly towards me. He says,
"It's awful dangerous out here alone. Are you alone?"
Something in his eyes told me to run. As I'm about to bolt and start hustling towards the people and lights of the station, I hear another sound. This one is new to me. As I clenched my hand, preparing to run or die, fighting off Creepy McCreeperson, I felt something. The leash. Kuma. In that moment, I had forgotten that I wasn't alone at all. Not by a long shot. The sound I had heard was a warning, a very lethal one. It was the deepest, most menacing growl I have ever heard come out of anything. That beautiful beast stepped out from behind me, where he'd been observing the threat, like a giant dragon rising from the shadows. The man's creepy smile slipped right off his face, as did a few shades of color. Kuma placed his large body between mine and the approaching strangers and pressed back against me, urging me towards the jeep. He didn't have to tell me twice. I turned and started to make my way back to the car, still holding that leash for dear life. He walked backwards, pressed against me the whole time, watching my back until we made it back to where we had parked. I tried to look for the man, but he either ran back to wherever he came from or made it inside, taking a much longer route, well outside Kuma's reach. I told my husband what happened, and honestly, I'm not sure who would have done more damage to that unfortunate man if they had located him. Every day for the next 9 years, Kuma was my best friend and guardian. Rest in peace, baby boy. When I, 26 male, was 13, I was visiting my grandparents' farm during the summer in rural USA. To kill time, I would spend the afternoon fishing alone on a riverbank about 3 miles away and would ATV there. This location happened to also be near a seldom-used campsite. Where I fished, there is a long steep boat ramp and dock, I think 150 feet long, sloping down to the water, surrounded by steep eroded banks with tall grass and weeds, making anyone below the top of the boat ramp invisible to campers. While I was fishing, a car drove over the top of the boat ramp and parked below by me. A guy in his 60s got out and walked over to me. He asked me about what I was fishing for, what I was using as bait, and where I lived. I don't remember all of the conversation, but I started getting creeped out when he eventually offered bait he hadn't used in his car. I declined. After a bit, he said he was a part-time photographer for a fishing magazine and wanted to take my picture for it. Although I was creeped out, I obliged, just to see if he would leave soon. He snapped a couple of me with my pole and a fish I had caught. After what felt like too long, he started to leave, but then asked for an address to send the magazine with my photos in it. Really feeling weirded out, I gave a fake address with my house number and road name changed. Looking back, I think I may have been in considerable danger.